Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm introducing Kim Ades of Visionary and Leadership Transformation and Thought Mastery. As the president and founder of Frame of Mind Coaching and JournalEngine Software, Kim has dedicated over 2 decades to empowering leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs to pivot strategically and unlock their full potential. Her innovative coaching methodologies have consistently led clients to significant business growth and market leadership. Beyond her professional achievements, Kim is an author, speaker, entrepreneur, and devoted mother of five, passionately sharing her powerful coaching process with a global audience. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Let's start off with the genius of frame of mind coaching. What inspired you to establish frame of mind coaching, and how did your personal experiences shape its development?
Wow. So frame of mind coaching has been around for nearly 21 years. And I would call myself, let's say, a serial entrepreneur. So in my previous life, I owned another business before this, and it was called Upward Motion. And we used to build simulation-based assessments, and those assessments were designed for companies to make better hiring decisions. And so we were really interested in this one question: what determines a top producer? What makes someone more likely to succeed than anybody else? And we were looking for all kinds of things. Is it that they're more intelligent? Is it that they have more experience? Are they older? Do they have more education? Are they better socially? What is it that really makes the difference? And what we discovered was that when a person had a higher degree of emotional resilience, they were more likely to succeed over the long term. When we take a very close look at emotional resilience, we discover that emotional resilience is this whole idea of being able to bounce back from adversity with speed and agility. But when we look closer, we also discovered that not only do they bounce back, they somehow leverage that adversity. They turn it into an advantage. They do something with it. And so that's one piece of my kind of professional background. The other thing that happened was that after 10 years of running that business, I ended up selling, and I got hired very shortly thereafter by a coaching company here in Toronto, where I live. And I ended up working there for about 8.5 or 9 months. I didn't last. I couldn't work there. And the reason is, well, when you're an entrepreneur and suddenly you go and work for somebody else, you
Mhm.
discover that you're unemployable. It's really hard to work for someone else. So that was part of the equation. The other part was that I got an opportunity to observe how they coach, and I really felt like something was off. And I thought, man, I think they're doing it wrong. I think they're missing an important element of coaching, and I think I could do a better job. And so I ended up leaving and starting my own coaching company called Frame of Mind Coaching. So now you're probably going to ask me, what were they missing?
Yeah. What were they missing?
What were they missing? So their model was very much, and at the time it was like the model of the day, right? It was the accountability model. What does that mean? So they were coaching business owners, or a lot of times they were real estate professionals. And so what they would do is they would help this person create a business plan, and in a business plan, there are usually milestones to hit. So they would say, okay, here are the milestones. Here are the actions you need to take in order to reach your goals. And as your coach, I will hold you accountable to make sure you're doing all the things in your plan so that, when you look back 1 year from now, you'll see all the things you've done and how far you've gotten. And it sounds pretty reasonable, right?
Hmm.
Sounds like a great idea. But in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, why aren't they doing, like, they're smart. They know how to create a plan. Why aren't they doing what they know they need to do? Why do they need someone else to hold them accountable? I don't know about you, but I don't like answering to anybody else,
No.
right? And as a coach, the last thing I want to do is hold people accountable. Like, that just doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of tracking to me.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, what is actually going on here? What's stopping people from doing the things they know they need to do? Is it like that they are lazy? I'm like, I don't think so. That's not it. What's actually at play here? And I thought, I bet you it has to do with the way they feel about themselves, maybe their level of confidence, maybe their optimism, maybe their expectation related to effort. Like if I put in the effort but I don't expect to get a positive result, I'm not super motivated to put in the effort, right? So
Mhm.
what is going on here? I thought if I could get into their heads and really see how they're thinking and see how they feel about themselves and look at their level of confidence and look at the dialogue they're having inside of their heads. And I could clean away some of the negativity, some of the self doubt, some of the lack of confidence. Then I would set them up for success, right? It's not so much about the plan and it's not so much about holding them accountable. It's about cleaning up the mess inside their brains that's holding them back, that's getting in the way of their performance. And that's when I started frame of mind coaching. That's the short story.
Awesome. Well, I like that. So you talk about thought mastery. So how does mastering one's thoughts contribute to achieving a competitive edge and dominating in your market?
So at the end of the day, what we've discovered is that your thinking plays the single most significant role in determining what you achieve, what you don't achieve, and how you achieve it, right? So your thinking is the number one factor in determining whether or not you succeed. The
Mhm.
issue is that you're not really aware of how you think all the time. Because imagine you're having 60,000 thoughts a day. You're not conscious of all the thoughts you have. And more importantly, you're not conscious of the relationship between your thoughts and your results. You have no clue. So we all, each one of us have blind spots. And that blind spot, if we're not trying to shed light on it, then it remains a blind spot. So my job is to help people see how they are thinking and how that influences their decision making, their actions, and then ultimately their outcomes. Because when you can see it, you can decide whether or not what you're doing makes sense and helps you achieve your goals. But if you can't see it,
Mhm.
it's really hard to manage. So my job is to help people master their thinking so that they have control over their part in the equation, what they think, what they do, and how they feel. And most people don't feel and don't actually have much control over those things. They just react.
Mhm. Yeah, and most of them don't think at all. Take the time.
Sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes it feels like that, right? But
Yeah.
what's really happening is they're thinking at a super lightning speed, and that thinking isn't necessarily aligned with the outcomes they're seeking, right? So they're behaving in ways that take them
Mhm.
away from their goals. And
Yeah.
so I'm interested in helping you think in ways that makes it easy for you to reach your goals and live the life you want to live. And in order
Awesome.
for us to do that, right? In order for us to do that, we need to become self-aware of how our thinking influences us.
Hmm. I like that. Well, you talk about the role of journaling in coaching. How does journaling integrate into your coaching methodology, and what benefits have you observed from this practice?
So let me back up and kind of share how we use journaling. So, first of all, who are we coaching? We're coaching a very specific kind of person. We're coaching the highly driven individuals, people who are running companies, people who are in the C-suite, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are movers and shakers and doing really cool things in life. And
Hmm.
so, why do we ask them to journal? So we can see what they're actually thinking. So, imagine you journal with your coach every single day. So, how does it work? At the beginning of every week, we give them a journaling question or a journaling prompt. And every time they journal, their journal goes to their coach, who then reads and responds to the journal by asking more questions, by going deeper, by really peeling back the onion and by challenging some of their thinking. So imagine doing that every single day. So what happens is your coach really, really gets to know you very, very well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So every day you're journaling, and every day your coach is on the other side of that journal asking you questions and really getting to know you, your context, your relationships, the way that your brain is wired. They're really getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to the calls or the coaching sessions every week, your coach has a ton of data to work with. They're really understanding who you are and what's important to you and what your values are. So you're going very deep, very, very quickly, and you're covering a wide spans or wide expanse of material in a short period of time. So the journaling component is designed to help you move far in a short period of time.
I love that. I've met a lot of coaches and I've never really heard anybody use that. So that's refreshing. And I, I mean, it really sounds like you're getting into the client's head. And
That's right.
instead of just, I don't know, I've met some coaches that are just like yelling at you or, it's like, this is a little different. I love that approach.
Well, it is very different because it's very, very intimate.
Hmm.
It's very intense. And my feeling is that a lot of coaches try to coach you without really knowing enough about you,
Yeah.
right? They don't collect enough data. They don't really know who you are. And so what the journaling does, so imagine I am your coach and imagine you're journaling on a daily basis and I am on the other side of your journal with you every single day. So the relationship really becomes very intimate and connected. And that relationship is important because if you don't think I understand you or know you or trust you, or sorry, if you don't think that if you don't trust me, then
Hmm.
what's going to happen? Well, you're not going to move forward with me. You're going to
Hmm.
create resistance.
Yeah.
But if you feel like I really do know you and understand you and get you and see you in all your contexts, right? Then what happens is we're going to travel at a lightning speed because you're going to let down your guard. You're
Hmm.
going to be willing to look at the places where you're not serving yourself without any resistance.
I like that. I like that. That's awesome. Um, and I just don't, I don't know. It's almost like, you used to write in a journal and it was kind of like a closed book and nobody ever got to see it or anything. And so then you're basically doing everything on your own. You're all alone. And so this way I feel like it's more, like you said, it's intimate and but it's almost like you're getting in my head, you're getting in my journal. And
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. That's a great
it's
idea.
it's a very, very powerful coaching tool. And
No.
I don't know why every single coach in the world isn't using this tool.
Yeah,
I
I
just
like
don't
it.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, as a mother of five and successful entrepreneur, how do you navigate the challenges of balancing professional and personal responsibilities?
Whew, that's a good question. So I'm really good at being where I am. So in other words, if I'm on this podcast, you're the only thing that exists right now. I'm totally focused on you, and here I am. But the minute we're done, my focus goes to the next place. And
Hmm.
if my children need my focus, that's where I am. So I try my best to be fully present wherever I am. I also try not to be perfect because I think that's a really tough thing to do. And
Hmm.
so, you know, and it took me a while to learn this, but I discovered that we are never going to please everyone. We are never going to be everything that everybody else wants us to be. And so the minute we can let go of that expectation is the
Hmm.
minute that we live with a greater level of freedom. So my job is to live according to my values. My job is to make decisions that are healthy and good for me. So if, let me kind of back up. One of my values is being available for my kids if and when they need it.
Hmm.
And if and when they need it, it happens to be an emergency. I have absolutely no problem moving things around to give them that attention. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel like I'm falling short. I don't feel anything. I don't feel any type of guilt or self-doubt or anything like that. And so for me, part of it is, am I living my life according to my values? There's a consequence for that, right? Like maybe I'm not growing my business as fast or as big as I could be. Maybe I'm not as thin as I'd like to be, right? Maybe, right? So, but when I look at my decisions and my life and how I have lived according to my values, it's 100% on target. So that's how you do it. Make sure you're not sacrificing your values.
Well, so entrepreneurs who want to structure their business and not to, they want to maximize out on profits, and they want to prioritize personal freedom and well-being. Is there any other tips that they should do besides, you said be present? Is there anything else that they should do?
Well, I'm a huge fan of journaling. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I think journaling does a lot for us. And one of the things that it does is it keeps us focused on what it is we're supposed to be doing, what it is we're supposed to be thinking, where it is we're supposed to be going, right? So um, I think that keeping your brain clean is a very, very important and valuable component of living a whole life, a wholesome, a full life, a whole, a whole and fulfilling life. And so we've got to manage ourselves really well. We have to manage our emotional state. We have to manage, you know, not only our time, but the way we are feeling day in and day out. And if we
Mhm.
feel tired, if we feel exhausted, if we feel frustrated, if we feel disappointed, if we feel discouraged, all that needs to be addressed. And so I would say to whoever's on the other side of this conversation
Mhm.
is your priority is actually to take care of your emotional state. When you take care of your emotional state, the rest takes care of itself. It's easy.
I like that. Well, overcoming adversity. I'm sure we all have it. So, can you share an experience where you faced significant adversity and how you transformed that challenge into an opportunity for growth?
Yeah. I mean, when I sold my first company, I did not have any idea about tax implications.
Hmm.
I didn't know. Like I was young. I didn't have experience. I didn't have great advisors. And so I made a decision when I sold my business, and the way that it was structured cost me a great deal. And 2 years later, I realized that I wasn't paying my taxes properly, and I owed $300,000.
Wow.
Ta-da, you've got to pay $300,000. And at that point, so I'm remarried. So these 5 kids are a blended family who all moved in with me. So, like, look at the picture. So I had suddenly a new family. I had
Hmm.
5 children to look after financially, and I I suddenly had this huge, enormous bill to pay.
Hmm.
So what are we going to do about that? Right? Luckily, I had some money stored away, so I was able to pay the bill. I was also able to reduce the bill by getting the right assistance.
Hmm.
So I reduced it to 200,000. But then what happened was we started implementing things in the home that made more sense, that were little things, but cumulatively reduced our expenses. And those things have been passed down to my kids over the years. It wasn't on purpose, it just happened that way, right?
Hmm.
And it was little things like, for example, imagine you go out for dinner, even a little dinner, a light dinner, an easy dinner, not a fancy dinner with your children and your whole family, and they're each buying a soft drink,
Hmm.
right? So suddenly the bill goes up plus tax on top of that. Suddenly your whatever $100 bill comes out to $150
Hmm.
just because of those drinks alone. I'm just giving you a little tiny example. What
Sure.
we started to do is say, we're just going to have water. Now, why was that good? They didn't really need to be drinking soft drinks, right? That's not a good idea. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, our bill got lowered and they learned what this looks like, right? So they learned A, how to choose healthier options, but B, they also learned I could still go out and have fun, but there are ways that I can manage my expenses. So at home as well. Like I stopped going to get my nails done. I started doing them myself. Like little things like that where you're just cutting back here and there. And cumulatively, it's making a big difference. Now, the advantage that happened was we handed this down to our kids. We didn't know we were doing that. We were just doing what we needed to do because we
Yeah.
needed to manage the money, right? This was a while ago, but we learned. And we also learned that, when you get hit with a big bill, it's not an experience, right? You can figure it out. You can
Mhm.
bounce back. You can tighten your belt. You can get motivated to earn more revenue or income. You can
Mhm.
do the things you need to do, and it doesn't have to be a tragedy.
Yeah, I like that. And that you have to realize that there's somebody out there that's already gone through that and, reach out and find the right people and that this problem can be solved. So I like that. Um, so based on your extensive coaching experience, what are the common traits or thinking patterns that distinguish exceptional leaders from others?
So, what we see is that they have three things in common. They have three particular thinking strategies that they use or lean on consistently. And it doesn't matter what industry they're in, it doesn't matter how old they are, it doesn't matter their level of education or anything like that. We see it consistently. So the first thing that they do is they are always challenging their fundamental beliefs. So what that means is that when they are faced with a problem, a challenge, a difficulty of some kind, and they're trying to figure out how to solve this problem, they ask themselves one question. What do I believe to be true about this problem, situation, person, etc., that's causing me to feel stuck? What are the beliefs I have here? And are these beliefs facts or are they beliefs? And and if I looked at this differently, if I thought about this differently, would it make a difference? Right? So they're constantly challenging their fundamental assumptions about the challenges they have. Right? So it's a practice they engage in. And they understand that if I think properly about this problem, if I think strategically about this problem, I will uncover solutions that I can't get to elsewhere. And if I can't find the solution, I must really look at my basic assumptions, my belief systems to identify where the sticking point is. Okay, so number one is they challenge their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, and as I say this, you're probably going to think this is not rocket science, but I'll explain. Number two is that they are extraordinarily resourceful. Again, not rocket science. But
Mm-hmm.
what is interesting about that finding is that extraordinary performers, extraordinary leaders think about resources differently from the average person. So, how do they think about it in a way that's different? In their minds, there is no shortage of time, money, talent, assistance. There's no shortage of anything. Okay, so A, they think in terms of abundance. B, they also have a belief that they don't have to be anybody special. They don't have to have a special crown on their heads to access those resources. So in their minds, they think, I am as entitled as anyone else
Mm-hmm.
to access these resources, even though they seem or feel inaccessible. Okay, so they are resourceful and they believe that they have the same level of access to these things as anyone else. Number three, and this is interesting because I do a lot of speaking, and one of the questions that I ask people to do is I ask them to journal one particular question. What do you really, really want more than anything, and what's getting in the way of you having what you really, really want?
Mm-hmm.
And I use two reallys on purpose. Why? Because I want them to think about what they truly deeply want, not what is expected of them, not what somebody else wants for them. What do they truly deeply want?
Mm-hmm.
Half the people in the room have no idea. They have their stock answer, but when they stop and really think at a deeper level, they get a little bit stumped.
Hmm.
And so when we go back to the question of how do extraordinary leaders think, they're clear about what they really, really want, and they're always focused on it. It's not something that's in the background. It's not something that they need to think about once a year. It's something that's constantly in their minds. It's something that they are focused on and that they are moving the needle towards on a day to day to day to day basis. They don't forget.
I like that. I like that. I hope everybody's writing that down.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So speaking of why, what drives you to do the work that you do, and how does your personal mission influence your approach to coaching?
So let me share the mission of our business and my mission, quite frankly, because my mission is my business's mission. So um, our purpose, our mission is to help our clients live their lives. And keep in mind, we're working with, typically top tier of an organization, right? The C-suite, the business owners, the entrepreneurs. Our mission is to help those people live lives with greater ease, peace, exhilaration, fulfillment, and joy. That's our purpose. And when they do that, their businesses thrive. They become better leaders. They have more effective coaching conversations. They are maximizing the performance of the individuals on their team. They're making better decisions. They are seeing and taking advantage of opportunities more readily. And they have better relationships. They're just happier people.
I like that. I like that.
That's the mission.
That's a pretty powerful purpose and mission. Um, and it's probably hard to do, with,
Not that hard to do.
oh, okay, with the top 1%.
It's not
Maybe,
that
maybe
hard to
it's
do.
harder for the other ones to get them
It's
up to
not
that.
that hard to do because these are people who are wanting to do the work on themselves.
Okay.
They get and they're willing to invest in themselves. They get that, they are the most important things in their lives. And they're the most important and valuable investment. So many people say, "Oh my God, it's expensive. I don't know." But then they go and spend a whole bunch of money on a vacation, right?
Yeah.
And vacations are great. I'm not anti-vacation. I'm totally for vacations. But
Yeah.
then you go and you come back and you're still where you used to be, right? And so the question becomes like, how do we make an investment that creates a lifelong, permanent, sustainable change? That's the question. And that's what I'm interested in.
Awesome. Well, what is your future plans for frame of mind coaching, and how do you envision its growth and impacting the coaching industry?
So right now we're working on a very interesting set of initiatives. And what we're doing is we're helping leaders learn how to coach more effectively. So not only are we coaching them, but now we're equipping them with coaching skills
Oh,
because we believe that great leaders also are great coaches. The more able leaders are to coach the people underneath them, the faster the business grows, the healthier it becomes. And so that's the mission. In addition to what I just stated, that's where we're going, that's where we're heading. And we have courses that we are launching specifically for leaders. It's called Great Leaders Are Great Coaches. And that's what we're doing. We're very excited about that
well, that's
particular initiative.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's exciting. Well, so for those who are interested in learning more about your work or seeking your coaching services, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Frameofmindcoaching.com. Come check us out. There's lots of information on there. And of course, you can reach me directly. It's kim@frameofmindcoaching.com.
Awesome. And then I think you're giving a free offer of the journaling prompts, which I got mine.
Yes, yes, yes. So, as you know, one of the things that we do is we ask our clients to journal in this private and secure online journal every single day. And I can't tell you how often people say, "Yeah, but what do I journal about? How do I know where to start?" Because
Mhm.
we obviously believe in journaling. So, here are some prompts that you can use if you want to journal on your own. So, go to frameofmindcoaching.com and right on the front page, there's like a little badge download your free journals.
I like that. And we'll have the link in there for everybody to grab that. So that's awesome. Um, so now for the audience, what do you think their next step should be if they want to start a coaching business or be better leaders, or maybe they want to start a speaking business or just grow what they already have?
I'll tell you something, like if you're asking me how should a coach, if somebody's interested in starting a coaching business,
Hmm.
I think, and I guess it applies everywhere. And yes, I'm extremely biased, but particularly for coaches, if you're thinking about having a coaching business, you might be thinking about like which coaching school should I go to, right? And there are many coaching schools out there. But before you go to any coaching school, it's so important to have a phenomenal coaching experience. So you know what that looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like. So my advice is find a phenomenal coach and hire them. And I would say to you, that's even more important than finding the right coaching school. If you're a leader or if you're a speaker, an up and coming speaker, and you want to fast track your business,
Hmm.
find someone who's done it before. So find a mentor, find a coach who can help you get there at a faster rate. One of the hardest things to do is go it alone. And so
Hmm.
it could be like finding a mastermind group or being part of a community or working with a coach or a mentor who could help you accelerate. And, to anyone who wants to just move faster, find someone who can help you do that.
I like that. Thank you. Well, thank you, Kim, for sharing your profound insights and experiences with us today. Your dedication to empowering entrepreneurs through innovative coaching techniques and through mastery is truly inspiring. The practical strategies and examples that you've provided offer a clear blueprint for attendees aiming to pivot, unlock their full potential, and achieve increased profits, time freedom, and market domination. Kim, wishing you continued success in your mission to transform leaders worldwide. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks.